Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. After a brief hiatus, we are back for the Raw post show. What's going on, everybody? It's good to be back in the space. But this was a big time show for the WWE and John Cena on the road to his last match in December. Please remember to hit that like button and subscribe before we get into the show. They had to do something big in the garden because this should have been his last date, and that shit should have been on the USA Network. I agree, but as we all know, in the way of the world, how it goes. Don't know if you're familiar with the story, but John Cena's last match was originally supposed to take place in Boston at the TD Garden, but unfortunately for the Bostonians and all of the massholes that were looking forward to seeing John Cena's last match, apparently they didn't pony up enough money, and the rights to his last match went to the highest bidder, which happens to be Washington, D.C. This was a big time show. Just not only due to the fact of what went down with John Cena becoming a Grand Slam champion, the rest of the things that were developed throughout the show, as my cat Tyrone looks to destroy everything in the background, which really has me very concerned. Not only was this John Cena's last date in Boston, we are on the road to War Games, Survivor Series, which we now kind of have a configuration and an idea of what is going to be the teams, establishing for the men's side and established for the women's side. John Cena looks to probably be involved in the War Games match. It's being advertised that he is going to be there at Survivor Series. Give me a second. Tyrone, come here. Now. Ugh, my kitty Tyrone. This is my cat Tyrone. Tyrone, say hey to the channel. He does not look very pleased. But Tyrone, and he's biting my hands as we speak. But not only is John Cena a Grand Slam champion right now, we are getting more developing of who is going to be a potential opponent in his last match at Saturday night's main event in December 13th. The odds-on favorite is Gunther. That has been reportedly, in the news for Don't stop biting me. That has reportedly been in the news for the last several months, and it's going to be Gunther. Stop it. But not only did we see John Cena become a Grand Slam champion, we saw the Kabuki We saw the Kabuki Warriors become the women's tag team champions in the main event, which set up the women's War Games match. And we got an idea of who's going to be in the men's War Games match. But let's start off the show with the beginning. We had Triple H do the intro for John Cena, which in my mind, I don't know how familiar you guys are with I'm going to put him down right now because he's biting my hands. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Stevie Richards' YouTube channel. Stevie Richards, it's abundantly clear that him and Triple H were not the closest of friends when he worked under him when he worked in the WWE. So you see a series of videos of Stevie Richards basically, accusing Triple H of being a mark for himself, right? And when you see moments like this, where it was extremely unnecessary in my mind for Triple H to be out there, those things, it's really hard for it not to be in your head, right? Triple H, he's had a WrestleMania match against John Cena, but when you think of the rivals throughout John Cena's career, Triple H really isn't one of the guys who pops up in your mind immediately. So for me, it's just like, okay, it felt as if he was kind of trying to steal from the moment. And I don't know if this was his idea or this was something that was pushed upon him from TKO that they wanted him to do, or this was something that John Cena wanted him to do as well, because he came out and he started off the show and he's talking about how, everybody these days has an opinion. Whether it's one side or the other, everybody has something that everybody really feels as if they're in a disagreement at the moment. And when he first started talking about that, I said, "Oh my God." I said this. I thought that he was gonna, reveal the message that Trump was gonna be at Cena's last match, which is something that's in the news. That's a possibility. So I was like, "Oh my God, stop messing up my note." Oh my God, don't get cats, guys. But which is something that's possibly in the news, or he was going to talk about how people are currently in the moment not really so much of a fans of what's going on with WWE creative at the moment. Tyrone interrupted my show. I should have not let him into the studio when I'm recording. False mistake by me. But so I was getting kind of worried as to where the direction was going to go. But what it ended up being was talking about how everybody has losing my train of thought. Everybody has in their mind a criteria of what they consider to make somebody an all-time great. Whether it's in-ring ability, whether it's charisma, whether it's promo skills, whether it's all these different things. Come on, Tyrone. Tyrone is banned from the show from now on because he does not allow me to do my show. But everybody has a criteria in their mind as to what makes somebody the GOAT. It says, but I think that it's a pretty good chance that everybody in this arena right now is in agreement that John Cena is the GOAT. John Cena comes out, as we all know, he is a West Newbury boy. The show takes place in the TD Garden. John Cena comes out to a thunderous ovation. And he goes on to reminisce about how, as a kid, he would go to the old Boston Garden and how he doesn't book the spots, he doesn't book the venues, he doesn't book the opponents, but he wanted to make sure that he was going to be able to be in Boston for one last time. He goes on to talk about how the tournament that we have right now that is determining who's going to be his last opponent is all about opportunities. And he goes on to talk about how, everybody's been asking him who he wants to face. Multiple times he says, but nobody has asked me, what is it that I want to do? I want to leave wrestling in a better place than it was before I entered it. And he also made the announcement that at Saturday night's main event that there is going to be exhibition matches between NXT talent and main roster talent, which I don't know what that means. What's the difference between exhibition matches and what they do? What makes it a difference? Because it's all scripted. I know in boxing when they say, "Oh, we're doing exhibition matches," they're making it to where nobody gets knocked out. But what is the difference? Who knows? Maybe I'm sitting here thinking too hard, and maybe there is a legitimate difference. But that's what we're gonna get, right? NXT main roster talent going at it at John Cena's last match. He's interrupted by Dirty Dom Mysterio. And throughout the day, we're getting different news sources breaking that we're going to get John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio. So it wasn't a shock that that's the match that we got. It was set up for Dominic Mysterio. If you guys saw last week, he had his championship celebration interrupted by his dad. And he goes up to Triple H and he goes on and says things like, I don't get my championship celebrations interrupted. I interrupt old men's celebrations. We get it set up between John Cena and Dominic Mysterio to have a match right then and there. Once John Cena goes on and it's very passionate, he says, wrong guy, wrong place. In Boston, I am invincible. I'm not the guy. I'm going to give you one last chance to walk out of here due to the fact that I respect your father so much. Dominic Mysterio doesn't take it. We get an impromptu Intercontinental Championship match between John Cena and Dominic Mysterio. And throughout this whole match, it was John Cena's greatest hits for the most part. And I think at this point in his farewell tour, that's what everybody wants to see. I don't think that anybody wants to really see anything new. They tried it with the John Cena heel turn. It failed miserably. I feel like I speak for everybody when I say that I wish we had the neuralizer from Men in Black where we could just erase that from ever happening. Because really, just looking back at it, that was how long did that last? 4 months? We had 4 months worth of appearances that just feel wasted. Because ever since SummerSlam happened, I feel like that's what everybody wanted to see. And the way that we got to it was really lazy booking in my mind. But we got to the destination that we wanted to get to. But man, it really was just such a mistake for them to do the heel turn. And I know that now we can finally say, what a John Cena heel turn would look like. We finally have it, right? There's no more fantasy booking. There's no more imagination. We could see what it was. And now we can see that this was the wrong move altogether. But John Cena picks up the win against Dominic Mysterio. He wins the Intercontinental Championship, the one title that eluded him throughout his whole career. He is a Grand Slam champion. And the main thing that popped into my mind after this was after we get this whole John Cena retirement tour over with, right? As soon as December 13th hits and that match is over, WWE is going to be in some very serious trouble. Because if you watch SmackDown, that show outside of Cody Rhodes has become a graveyard for baby faces. There is nothing, and I don't know how much I can emphasize this. There is nothing good going on that show. And once John Cena is gone, right, WWE is going to have to focus on producing more quality television. And right now, it's not looking so good. Now, Raw compared to SmackDown is Emmy Award-winning TV. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's great as well. Because right now, we currently have CM Punk feuding with Logan Paul. Which, I don't know, there's somebody who's out there that likes that. But it's not necessarily for me. And I know they're doing that to set up the War Games match, but WWE is going to be in very big trouble because they're running short on baby faces. On Raw, you have Jey Uso, who's a guy who's already very divisive in the eyes of certain fans, and you have CM Punk. On SmackDown, you have Cody Rhodes. I know that there's Roman Reigns, but he's not there all the time. Brock Lesnar's not there as well. So outside of Cody, Jay and CM Punk, the men's side when it comes to the baby faces is in some serious trouble. Now we have what is most likely going to be the incoming return of Chris Jericho, which that's going to be a boost for the men's baby face side, at least for a little bit, but things are going to get a little bit shaky. And going into WrestleMania season, knowing you're not going to have John Cena, knowing you're more than likely not going to have The Rock, things are going to get a little bit sparse because the direction that things are heading into, there could be a pivot, but it looks like we're heading towards a Jey Uso, Roman Reigns matchup. Maybe we could get a little bit of a pivot and get Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns 3. Gunther is probably heading towards a matchup with Brock Lesnar, which I know that there's a lot of people who want to see that. Me personally, not really something that floats my boat. But outside of that, things are getting a little bit sparse. And there is no help on the way for WWE, at least in my mind. So they're going to really have to bunker down and get some type of ideas from somewhere to improve the quality of the show right now. He could have done it in 2017. He should have. He should have. I think that the timing passed for a heel turn. I think it was way too late. Little too late. We get into the first match of the tournament for the John Cena to determine who's going to be John Cena's last opponent. It was really a nothing match for the most part. Damian Priest versus Rusev. Damian Priest, he is nursing an eye injury due to his feud with Aleister Black on SmackDown. Rusev was able to win with a Mashka kick. He advances into the tournament, getting closer and closer to being John Cena's last opponent. We get a backstage segment with Adam Pearce. He is over there with the Raw Tag Team Champions AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. They're basically asking him to feed them opponents. Adam Pearce is happy to oblige. He asked them if they have a tag team name. Nope, they are still working on it. He is also there confronted by Maxine Dupree and asks her how's her training doing. And she's like, training is going good, but there's only so much training that I can do. And she asks for a match. She tells Adam Pearce that she wants Becky Lynch. So next week in the Garden, we are getting Maxine Dupree versus Becky Lynch for the women's IC title. AJ Styles could work, but the tag champ. It's a little disappointing for me. So after John Cena's gone, I'm assuming that they're going to shift the focus a little bit more towards AJ Styles, who says that he's, going to retire soon as well. I'm sure he's not going to get a full-blown retirement tour like John Cena, but they're going to do something for the guy. And it's a bit disappointing thinking about it that, most of AJ Styles' opponents, when I think back at his career, is Kurt Angle, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe. And he's not going to be able to wrestle any of those three guys, right? Kurt Angle, due to the physical condition he's in, Christopher Daniels recently retiring, and Samoa Joe being in AEW. It's disappointing. And AJ Styles, he kind of had that last big farewell match against John Cena, who, when you think about his opponents in WWE, I know AJ Styles has been in WWE for a good while. Outside of John Cena, I really can't think of who I would consider to be AJ Styles' second biggest rival. So he's not going to have this smorgasbord of opponents that we can go down memory lane with like John Cena had. Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. We get a promo by the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk. Last week, he got hit in the jaw with some brass knuckles by Logan Paul. He comes out and he's in a pissed off mood. He calls Logan Paul trash, multiple Shinsuke. That's more of a New Japan feud. And all their matches that they had in WWE sucked. And Shinsuke and AJ, I remember their match at what was it? Was it at WrestleMania? I don't know if it was. I don't think it was 40. But their match at WrestleMania was one of the more disappointing WrestleMania matches I could think of, just because they weren't able to go balls to the wall and have their matches like they did in New Japan. They had to conform to the WWE style. So it felt like they were kind of holding back. So I guess you would say Nakamura would be AJ Styles' second biggest rival in WWE, but I personally have no interest in seeing that. Especially now with Nakamura being in the stage of his career where he just wants to, sit back and collect. We saw him wrestle a match against Sheamus tonight, but Nakamura, he's content with just collecting money. He doesn't want to go out there and be a hooper anymore, at least in my mind. But CM Punk comes out here. He calls out Logan Paul. He tells him that he wants to fight him. And he says, basically, he's like, I'm not going to let you fight for the strap. I'm not going to let you fight for the title. He said, but I am going to fight you. Logan Paul comes out and he asks CM Punk, why is he so mad? So are you mad because I'm smarter than you? So I'm smarter than everybody in the ring. Eventually, we have Paul Heyman and the Vision come out and back him up. Paul Heyman runs Punk down, says that, none of you're the very hard guy to deal with. Your friends didn't betray you. You betrayed your friends. You don't have any friends. This is coming from somebody who is a former friend. You're very unlikable. The only person who's more unlikable than you is your wife, AJ Lee. We have the Vision surround CM Punk. We see Jey Uso come out and back him up. Then we get a backup from Cody Rhodes, who I forgot to mention earlier in the night. He was there to shake John Cena's hand to congratulate him after he won the IC title. We get a segment where they all brawl. Later on in the show, we see them in the back with Adam Pearce, and we get a cameo from William Regal, and we announce that we are going to have War Games. The Vision and Logan Paul against CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and why is my mind just going freaking blank? And Jey Uso. I'm pretty sure we're going to have Roman Reigns added to that mix as well. So we look forward to that, right? We're looking forward to that. Next, we get into the Raw Women's Championship match. Steph Danhausen should have been there for Pepsi Phil. Danhausen, he's iced. He's put on ice. Danhausen probably fit in perfectly in WWE. You know, they value guys like that. He's probably at least 10 years younger than R-Truth, so he could easily fill in that role. But he's on ice, still under contract with AEW at the moment, yet they have no plans on using him, which is an interesting strategy. But we have Stephanie McCure. She is accompanied to the ring by Nikki Bella. Raquel is obviously accompanied by Roxanne Perez. Stephanie McCure, my favorite member of the Raw roster currently right now. Throughout this match, Raquel was able to do multiple different spots where she was able to overpower Stephanie. Stephanie went for the Devil's Kiss. Raquel was able to get out of that and just use her brute force to be able to avoid that. Stephanie was able to pick up the win later on in the night with the corkscrew moonsault. We see Roxanne try to get involved in the match, but Nikki Bella is there to alleviate that concern. After Stephanie picks up the win, Roxanne hits a cheap shot on Stephanie. Nikki Bella is able to go there and have Stephanie's back. Stephanie and Nikki hug, but then after that, Nikki hits Stephanie in the face with the belt. We get a heel turn from Nikki Bella, setting up a match between Stephanie and Nikki Bella further down the line for the Raw's Women's Championship. I'm sure everybody is expecting to see Brett versus Shawn when these two lock up. Interesting stuff. But like I said, you know, the worst episode of Raw, it looks like Emmy award-winning television compared to SmackDown. Oh, that show is awful. Why do you guys think I don't do a post show for that? Because I can't watch it. It's too much. Not on my bingo card. Next, we'll get Shinsuke versus Sheamus. Another match in the tournament to determine who is going to be John Cena's last opponent. Shinsuke, they break him out every once in a while when they need a warm body. Shinsuke is one of those guys who, when they eliminated house shows for the most part, this was a guy who basically became, for the most part, on ice for WWE as well. Because previously, before, when they would do house shows on a regular basis, Shinsuke would be somebody who would probably work those loops on a continuous basis. So it's interesting. Shinsuke, Sheamus, they did what they did. It wasn't a barn burner, by no means. I think it was pretty predictable that Sheamus was going to be the guy who was going to win this. He hits a bro kick out of nowhere, picks up the win. We see a nice exchange of sportsmanship between these two. Shinsuke raises Sheamus's hands. Usually that signals for a heel turn. Didn't see it. And then we get out of there. But then we get later on announced the matches that we're going to get next week in the John Cena retirement tour. We have Javon Evans going one-on-one with the Ring General, Gunther, the returning Gunther. Haven't seen him since his loss to CM Punk at SummerSlam. Javon Evans versus Gunther, that should be some high-quality raps. Looking forward to that. Then we get announced that we're going to see Solo Sikoa versus a mystery opponent. We have two mystery opponents announced, right? LA Knight is going to go up against a mystery opponent, and now we're getting announced that Solo is going to go to a mystery opponent. One of those names has to be Joe Hendry in my mind. Another one, I'm assuming it's probably going to be another NXT name. I would probably say Obafemi if I was a betting man. I think that the two people who are the mystery opponents right now are Obafemi and Joe Hendry. If I had to put any money on that, I'm like, yeah, I know, Pops. I know. We get into the main event. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus the Kabuki Warriors. Charlotte Flair has become more and more likable to the crowd. She is somebody who, on her build to her match against Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania, looked as if she was completely miserable. Looked as if she really wasn't having any fun. And since she's been teamed up with Alexa Bliss, it looks like things have gone a complete, 180. This was a decent match. I don't think it had anything special. Even though Charlotte Flair is somebody who I consider to be one of the better in-ring workers. Same thing with Asuka. This was a match that was mainly there just to set up the finish, which was Nia Jax and Lash Legend, who have been paired up on SmackDown. They entered the match, they interfered, they had Alexa by herself to where Charlotte was the last woman there, no backup. And Kyrie saying, hit the moon, hit her maneuver, 1, 2, 3. We see the Kabuki Warriors win the tag team championship. We see the Kabuki Warriors and Lash Legend and Nia Jax deliver a case of the beats to the former champion. Then we see Io Sky make the save. Still not enough. Then we see Rhea Ripley come back, who we haven't seen in a while because she broke her nose at a show in Japan. She came out with the LeBron James black mask that he wore in Miami that one game. So we announced that we're going to get a War Games on the women's side, and that's how we end this show. Some good stuff. Better than the last couple of weeks, but like I said, WWE is going to be in trouble once this John Cena retirement tour is up. But we're on the road to War Games, which I will be having a post show following that. There will be no post show on Wednesday because on Wednesday I will be at the show, so I'll deliver some content there. But looking forward to it. Good stuff on the way. Be on the lookout throughout the week. There's going to be some other videos dropping. There's always news breaking in the world of professional wrestling. So the channel never sleeps. You're always going to get short content. You're always going to get the standalone videos. So hit the subscribe button if you haven't, because you will be missing out on those things. But there will be a post show next week on Raw for Raw. We'll be back to having a Dynamite post show next week as well. And we're always going to deliver post shows for the AEW pay-per-views and the WWE PLEs. Guys, it's been a long night, but we survived it. And hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Guys, I am Kevin Zwicker. I'm out.